Hello, my name is Zach Gibbs, and I am a content developer within education services inside Juniper Networks. And today we will be going through the Apstra installing Offbox Device Agents Learning Byte. Here is our topology. We have the Apstra server, and then we have 5 QFX devices. And you can see the management addresses on the left. There you can see Apstra's management address, and then the QFX devices. Their management addresses are the 172.25.11.1, then .2, .3, .4, and .5 addresses. And so what we want to do is, since these are Junos devices, we want to install Offbox Device Agents with those devices. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump to the Apstra web interface and get this going. All right, so here is the Apstra web interface, and we want to go to Devices, and then System Agents, and then Agents. And you can see here that we have 2 tabs, the On-Box and Off-Box tabs. And since these are Junos devices, we want to use the Off-Box tab. And then there's nothing here, so we do want to create an Off-Box agent. And the Create System Agents window appears, and we enter the IP addresses, the range that is of our devices, and you can see here on the right the IP addresses that it will be using. And so we want to have an operation mode of full control, and then we select the platform of Junos username, enter the credentials that will work for the device itself, and then click Create. And you can see here we have 5 devices that have been added, and you can see that we have the operation mode, full control, the address for the device. These are the management addresses. And then there's a few fields that aren't filled in yet. The platform version. We have the platform of Junos, we know that. And then the system ID, hostname, device state, those get filled in after the Apstra server reaches out to the VQFX devices. And then in the job state, you can see in progress, and the connection state is disconnected. And what we want to see happen is that job state to transition to the successful state, and then the connection state to connected. And you can see that the job's working right now, because what's basically happening is, since this is an off-box agent, we're installing the agents not on the devices themselves. It's installed locally on the Apstra server. And then the Apstra server reaches out to the VQFX devices, does a few checks to make sure things will work well with Apstra, making sure the config isn't going to have a conflicting config and stuff like that. And then it's able to add it to the Apstra server as an off-box device agent. And you can see here that we have a few things happening. We have a couple successes. We have the .3 and .5. Well, got 4 successes. This looks good. And 1 failure. That doesn't look too good. And the connection state is still in the disconnected state for all of them, but that'll change for the 4 devices here, but the failed device, that probably won't change. So we just give them a minute. They'll change from the disconnected state to the connected state. That is for the 4 devices. And you can see there's already a few devices, 2 of them that have transitioned to the connected state. You can see the host name too, the VQFX4, VQFX3. You can see VQFX2 just transitioned to that connected state as well. And VQFX5 should transition soon. VQFX1, that we know from the management IP address here, 172.25.11.1, won't, because the job did fail. And there it just went. So that looks good there. And so something else I do want to point out here, the system ID that you see here is based off of the MAC address of the management interface. And then we have the device state in the OOS ready state. So that's the out of service ready state. And so basically what that means is that the device is ready to be assigned a blueprint or assigned to a blueprint. VQFX 2 through 5 look great, but VQFX 1 doesn't. And so what can we do? What we can do is we can look at the logs. And so you can see the action buttons over here. We have the option to check, install the Offbox Device Agent, uninstall, OS upgrade, revert to pristine config, collect pristine config, and show log. Or we could delete this device since it's not currently connected. And so let's look at the log and see what we can find in the log. All right, so here is the log. We can see what happened. We can see that there was a task of checking connectivity. That's fine. That was successful, so it can reach it. It's not a connectivity issue. But if we scroll down to where we see error, we see polluted config present in the pristine config. See the XE001. It shows that unit is configured with family, iNet, and that is actually what the problem is. With this type of Offbox agent installation, we need to have a config that won't error out, and having a transit interface in this scenario does cause it to error out. And so you can just see the conflicting pre-AOS configuration found on the device, and then it just errors out and gives you some additional errors. So we know that there's a config problem on the device. We know that XE001 is configured for VQFX1. So let's jump to VQFX1 and have a look at that. All right, so here is the terminal for VQFX1. Let's jump into configuration mode and show the XE001 interface. And sure enough, there's an interface config on that. We can't have that. So let's delete XE001 and then show interfaces. Let's just make sure that nothing else is misconfigured and only the EM0 and EM1 interfaces are configured here. So that's a good thing. So we want to commit that configuration, and then we'll jump back to the Apstra web interface, and we can see here that we can do a few things with the device. And you might think, okay, what do I need to do now? What is the next step? We could check connectivity, but we really don't need to do that. We know the connectivity check worked, but the install of the Offbox agent didn't work. So let's go ahead and attempt to install that and confirm the action. And so the job is run. You can see down here at the bottom, we have active jobs. So we can bring that up, and we can see up here that we have it's in progress. And with the active jobs, we can see the device address, the task type, which is install, the state, it's in progress, and we can see the current task, and it's check connectivity. So it's just checking the connectivity from the Apstra server to the VQFX1 device right now. And so the job did complete successfully. That's a good sign, and it's still disconnected, but recall it takes just a minute to go from the disconnected state to the connected state. And so while that's doing that, let's click on one of the system IDs of one of the other devices. Let's say QFX4 here. Let's click on the system ID and see what it pulls up. And we get a lot of information. We have the device profile. That's the Apstra device profile, is Juniper VQFX. We have the state. It's OOS ready. We knew that already. It is acknowledged. It's full control. No error message. It is online. We see the host name and the FQDN, just set to VQFX4. Agent start time, device start time as well, and also the container status. And then at the bottom, we have some facts about the device. We have the serial number, which again, it is based off of the management address. And you can see that down here. The MAC address of the management interface is very similar to the serial number. You see the serial number is based off that MAC address. And then we have the management interface, EM0, OS family, and the OS version. And then we can look at the pristine config. We have a few different tabs. This is the info tab. We have the pristine config. And you can see here that it tells you that this is the pre-Apstra config on the device. And we can change that config here if necessary. Then we also have the telemetry tab. Now the telemetry tab isn't going to have much here because we haven't really done anything with this device yet. It's still not in service. It's not assigned to a blueprint. We can, however, look at the interfaces and see the different interfaces and things like that. You can see the role is unknown, the intent status is unintended, and that's okay because all we've done is install the Offbox agents. That's what we should see at this point. And so let's go ahead and jump back to devices and then system agents, then agents and Offbox. And you can see here that VQFX1 is looking good. It's in the connected state and everything looks good. Okay, say for some reason you want to remove these devices, remove these device agents. So let's go ahead and select them and select delete. Oh, wait a second, we can't do that, right? And so it says cannot delete one or more selected agents. And that's by design. You shouldn't be able to delete them right now because the agent is currently installed. And so what we have to do first is we have to uninstall the agents. So I'm going to click the uninstall button for each agent. You do have to go through for each agent and confirm this. And so we have 2 more agents. Now 1 agent left. And so you can see that the job state is in progress for these devices. And the last one will transition to in progress as well. We see the active jobs down here. We can see what's going on, reverting to pristine config, getting device facts, getting platform type. So you can see the status of the active jobs. And that'll change here shortly. And you can see actually the first one, let's go ahead and shrink the active jobs window. First one has transitioned to the disconnected state. The job was successful with uninstalling, and it is now disconnected. And all the devices have transitioned to the disconnected connection state. So now we can select them all and then delete them, delete the agents, confirm the deletion. We can see here that now the device agents are no longer present. So that does bring us to the end of this Learning Byte. In this Learning Byte, we demonstrated how to install Offbox Device Agents with Apstra.
Visit the Juniper Education Services website to learn more about courses. View our full range of classroom, online, and e-learning courses. Learning paths, industry segment and technology-specific training paths. Juniper Network's certification program, the ultimate demonstration of your competence. And the training community, from forums to social media. Join the discussion.